Yeah, I'd like to give a few short shiurim about the topic of Kabbalah more than actual Kabbalah itself, and a lot of it's going to be a Kabbalah in our days. I know there's a lot of talk about it in the world, whether we're allowed, whether we should, whether we shouldn't. Who could learn Kabbalah? Maybe only after your Tzaddik Ador, the Rav Ador, the Posek Ador, or maybe every person should learn it, or maybe every guy off the street should be learning it. And I'm not coming to decide so many of these questions as much as I'd like to come to bring out some of the sources that we have in front of us from the tzaddikim of previous generations, and maybe even some from our present generation, and you could learn it yourself, and you could see for yourself what they say. Okay, a lot of these might not exactly agree with each other. We might be bringing sometimes opinions that's slightly different, and either I'll point it out, or you have to just pay attention to it, and then you'll understand. Because a lot of times, one Rav will be a little bit more machmir, a little more difficult with allowing the simple people to learn, and maybe even Hasidic Sfarim, maybe people shouldn't be learning, and other people might be a little bit more makel and allow people to learn at a much earlier stage. But there's a lot to be learned, in any case, from their words. So we're going to actually learn their words also quoted, which is another thing which I've seen a lot of the modern day people that teach Kabbalah. They say all sorts of things, that this is mutter and that's mutter, and they don't really bring the sources. And whether they're right or wrong is a different discussion. But here we're going to bring the sources. So I'm not trying to make anything up here. I'm just going to bring it out, and I'm going to speak about it. If you disagree with anything that I say, it's your right, and you could hear though what I'm saying. I'm just going to try to read it in the Hebrew with translation, as we usually do, and you could judge for yourself what you understand that they're saying. Okay, so now we're going to bring a list of different places, different Rishonim, Achronim, mostly Achronim, and some from the Zohar and other Mekubalim, and what they say about learning Kabbalah. Now, the Gaon, Moril Margalius, does that sound? In the Sefer Ben Doro of the Pri Megadim, or the Pei Mem Gimel, this is the name of the Sefer. Kosev B'Sifro Beis Midos, he writes in his Sefer, Beis Midos, he writes like this, V'zel Shana, page 124. This is his Lashon, this is what he says. I'm sorry, just to stop at, we're using, if you want to, I'm going based on the Akdama of the Sefer of Zuschaim, which you can find in Akdama, where you could follow along if you want to, if you have the Sefer. So he writes in the Sefer Beis Midos, and these are his words, should be exactly. Through a person attaching himself to the Torah and doing Maisim Tovim, and specifically through the aspect of Torah, through learning Kabbalah, Asher Kvar Heid Hanisayon Shem Mo'ilim Umaf'ilim Me'od Ba'adam Asayira, and they the practice already proved, experience already proved that the learning of Kabbalah Svarim actually help and bring a person to fear of Hashem. Mo'ilim Umaf'ilim, they help, and they help run, they help generate Me'od Ba'adam Asayira, very much a fear of Hashem inside of a person. And on page 88 he says, Shemoil Me'od La'adam Umafil Benafsho Pu'ulas Hayir V'aval Makom. It helps a person a lot, and it also arouses Yira and Ava inside to Hashem, the fear and love of Hashem. So that's what it says on page 88, just to expand on this point. However, there is a condition. You have to learn L'Shem Shamayim. B'tnai sheyilmod L'Shem Shamayim. V'lo manas legadel kavodo v'leramas ha'olam u'levakish kavod yoser limudo, and not in order to make himself honorable and a greater in the eyes of other people, greater than he really is. A lot of people that take Kabbalah to do exactly this. And when a person does it like this, he will not help himself in Yirah, he will not help himself in Ava, he won't come closer to Hashem. It won't help him. Only if he's learning l'shem shamayim, if he's learning because he really wants to come close to Hashem, because he really wants to do what's right, only then will it actually help, and he'll be able to find Ava. It will arouse Ava and Yirah inside of him, love and fear of Hashem inside of him. If not, it won't work. That's what he's saying here. It will not help him. There's a condition, and you have to fulfill this condition. You have to learn Kabbalah l'shem shamayim in order to come close to Hashem, to do the mitzvahs. A person cannot learn Kabbalah and not apply the mitzvahs and not live like a Torah Jew. A person who does this, he is looking for his own personal benefit. He's looking for other things. He's not looking to be he's not looking to learn Kabbalah l'shem shamayim, and therefore will not arouse love and fear of Hashem at least in the proper way. Certainly not according to the Maril Margolius in the Sefer Beis Hamikdash. Okay, next in Hanhagas Ha'adam from I think Rabbi Eliezer Milizhinsk, Reish Aleph Milizhinsk, Harav Kadosh. He writes in chapter 5. He writes like this: Zelashon. Ata b'honosina harabim sheyesh lanu guf achor v'chomer av. Nowadays, unfortunately, through our many sins, where we have a very physical body, we have a very lowly body. Tzarich adam l'zachech u'lechabes atzmo mikol chet u'lezachech nishmaso. A person has to purify himself from all sins and to purify his soul. V'yavin ha'adam ima ksavim. V'yavim ha'adam im zichech nishmaso. And a person should understand himself if he purified his soul. Kasher ein ha'yetzer hara. He will understand this when ein ha'yetzer hara masita l'shtusim v'havolim kasher b'tchila. When the yetzer hara does not bring him to do shtusim v'havolim, silly things and foolish things that are not seichel, things like averas or even other foolish things, a waste of time when a person looks into all sorts of silly things that he doesn't need to look into, thinks about things that he doesn't need to think about, acts on things that he doesn't need to act about, and he knows that it's true that he should not act upon these things. The Yetzer Hara is just drawing him to do all sorts of silly things. Once he purifies himself from all these things and he recognizes that the Yetzer Hara is no longer drawing him into shtusim v'avolim, into silly things, as yuchol lilmod b'chol pam haksavim, then he could learn as much as he wants, or at any time, or at all times, he could learn the ksavim, the kisvei harizal. Often they're called the ksavim. V'Hashem yisbarach yazakehu, and Hashem will help him. Im yizakech mashavto b'kedusha be'emes u'v'tamim, if he purifies his thoughts b'kedusha be'emes u'v'tamim, in holiness, in truth, and in simplicity and purity. She yiftach lo shayach chochma b'kisvei harizal. Then his mind will open up. Hashem will be mizakeh. Hashem will help him, and it will open up his mind to understand the kisvei harizal. Asher lo ken kol zman shemelubash b'taivas gufanius behevlei hazman. But this isn't true when he's dressed up and he's living inside of taivas gufanius, physical pleasures, v'behevlei hazman, and he's wasting his time on nothing, on shtusim v'avolim. V'halimud kashelo me'od chas v'shalom. Ad kan l'shalom. Shalimud kashelo me'od chas v'shalom. Then the learning of the kisvei harizal, if a person is still running after his Yetzer Hara, it will be very hard for him to learn Kabbalah. Now, just to make some diukim here, he's not saying that. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like he's saying. He seems to say that it'll be very hard for him. For sure, at the end he says that. In the beginning he says, I'm trying to understand if he's allowed or if he's not allowed. Is the Eliezer Milizhinsk, is he saying, maybe Milizhinsk, is he saying that a person should not learn Kabbalah? He says you need tzarchat mezach chabesat m'chol chet v'yovin adam im zikh nishmaso v'az yuchol lilmod b'chol pam haksavim. Okay, then a person could learn freely, learn Kabbalah freely. However, before a person reaches this state, it'll be very hard for him, and either you can't learn it b'chol pam, or you can't learn it at all. So, if you want to minimize what he's saying to the strength of what he's saying, you could say that you're not allowed to learn it at all times. If you have not reached this level, sometimes you may be able to learn it. But even when you do learn it, it'll be very difficult for you, and you won't really be very successful, and Hashem won't be mezake you to open up your mind. Only once you purified your Yetzer Hara, once you purified and you're not running after taivos gufanios behevle hazman, wastes of physical desires and wastes of times. Wasting a person wasting his time, then he will not be able to understand. He will not be able to understand Kabbalah unless he gets rid of these things. Okay, so that's, again, this is a very strong opinion, a very, it seems negative opinion against most people involving so much in Kabbalah. It seems to say that the prerequisite is to totally control a person's Yetzer Hara. That's now Omnam L'Maseh. However, this is again the Mechaber of the Sefer. Sometimes writes the first few words, introducing the next piece. So there's another quote here. L'Maseh Kasav Shla. The Shla, on the other hand, wrote like this. In a Sefer, we're going to see a lot that seem to say that all you need is simple emunah and Ratzon L'Shem Shemaim, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a complete tzaddik to be able to learn Kabbalah. In the Shla it says, B'Sifro, in his Sefer, the Shla Kadosh, says in the Sefer, in the part called Asar Ma'amaros, on page 25, the end of the fourth column, in a certain, I don't know which one, but in a certain tefus, in a certain printing. And this is what he says. About those people that think that Torah Kabbalah is super, super high. And who is it that can come to the gates of the king? And their intention is to hold back and to stay away from learning Kabbalah. About them, Shlomo Melech says, Ramos Ivel Chachmos Beshar Lo Yiftach Pihu. He says this pasuk, Ubira pasuk, and the meaning of this pasuk is like this. Misha Choshev Shechachmos Kabbalah. He's taking this pasuk and applying it to these people. And he's saying like this, Misha Choshev Shechachmos Kabbalah Hi Rama V'Nisgava. Who thinks that, whoever thinks that the Chachmas Kabbalah is super, super high, and a person cannot actually achieve it. We're talking about spiritual things, which maybe you need to meditate for 1,000 years or 100 years, or 50 years, or 70 years, until you get some type of level of Ruach HaKodesh and prophecy, and only then you can understand what he's saying. Then hu ivil v'ksil. That's what, again, it seems like what he's saying. Unless you want to say that a person could understand it, all you have to do is get Ruach HaKodesh, it's not a problem, which also, I've heard there are those that say that. You could say that in this, into these words, possibly, but I would seem to say it's not the Pashup Shan. When he seems to say that it's not Rama V'Nisgava, it's not super, super high from us, means that we could learn it, we could understand it, and we could benefit from it. L'chen b'shar Hashem, shi chachmas HaKabbalah, and therefore he continues and explaining the pasuk, b'shar Hashem, which is a pasuk, b'shar Hashem, shi chachmas HaKabbalah, lo yiftach pihu. He will not open up his mouth in the gates of Hashem. And again, you can put that into the pasuk. We're not going to put it exactly because that's not what we're trying to do here, to show exactly how this pasuk is inside. These words are inside the pasuk. However, contrary to that, a person has to work hard and put effort into trying to attain it, to understand it. So that's one type of person. A type of person that says, I opened up a book, I didn't understand it, it sounds very spiritual, it sounds like maybe you need to have some type of sixth sense in order to understand it, and that is not true. A person can understand it, however, a person could do it, a person could work and put effort into it and understand it. And we need to. A person has to. V'yeshna manashim, and he's going to now describe another type of people. Shemoni matzma milimo Torah sanistum mipachad shkius. Other type of person is afraid of learning Kabbalah because he's afraid of making mistakes. And they think that if they make a mistake, that it's considered as if they did it on purpose. But this is not a reason to stay away from limud Kabbalah. Hashem hatov yichaper ba'ado, and Hashem, in His kindness, the good Hashem will forgive the person. Ki al kol p'shayim techase ava, because all of the sins are covered up by love. Vashgia hahi ariva lifnei Hashem. And when a person makes a mistake, again, we're talking about a person who is honest and is trying to learn be'emes, and he makes a mistake. He read something wrong, or he dashed something that wasn't exactly correct, but he thought it was true. So then Hashem is even happy with those mistakes. Again, he should learn everything that he has the ability to understand and to attain. And he should make himself holy with extra types of holiness. Not like a regular person should go above and beyond with regards to holiness. And then he will go up the ladder that goes up to Hashem, the house of Hashem. Specifically in our last generation, where he seems to be saying here that a person, it's important to put effort and study into it, and we can understand it, and a person should also at the same time work on being Mekadesh himself and make himself more and more holy. However, and that's the end of the Holy Shlah's work, writings, but we're going to add also the Haggah. I'm not sure who wrote the Haggah, but it made it into the Sefer. I guess it's either Chashav Rav, or possibly it was even the Shlomo himself. I just don't know. Could maybe in the next year, if I find out, I'll be able to say who it was. But Haggah Kasav, in Haggah, the footnotes or the side notes in that, the editor's note possibly in that Sefer in the Shlah Hakadosh, this is his lashon. This is what he writes. Bedoros ha'achronim, again on the previous chapter of the Shlah, the previous words of the Shlah that I just read, he writes, Bedoros ha'achronim yesh resus lasok b'nistaros yoser mi l'hadoros harishonos. In our generation, we have more permission than in the previous generations to learn Kabbalah. Ki anu smuchim l'gula, because we are closer to the redemption. Umiskav beyoser bitul ha'avodah zarah v'bira ktzitzos, which is the klipos. We're coming closer to the perfection and the destruction of Avodah Zarah and the destruction of all the evil forces. And as we get closer, we have more of a heter to learn. And again, we find this in many of the Mekubalim. We're going to learn maybe a few even here as in the shiur that we're going to give, that they speak about this topic of coming closer to the time of the Geula, of the redemption, and the closer we get, the more mutter it is for us to be learning Kabbalah. We should not be worried. We don't have much to worry about anymore of a person coming to be kofar in the foundations of faith. And he will not come to such mistakes. And I see now here that this footnote that we just read is also actually part of the Shlah, according to the Sefer here. What's his name? I can't remember his name right now. Okay, we're going to finish off with one last piece. Okay, V'rea Arichus Nifla. Okay, V'rea Arichus Nifla, the Sefer Sum Mirav Asatov. In the Sefer Sum Mirav Asatov from the Rav Zirichov Rav. Sheherich levar es hatanoim v'azkar shel Moreno Chaim Vital. He elaborated in the Sefer. A Sefer. We're not quoting the Sefer really here. The Sefer Sumerav Asatov, which is a very famous Sefer. A lot of these things I've seen that a lot of the Sfarim that talk about this topic that we're learning about now, they quote the Sefer Sumerav Asatov. Sheherich levar es hatanoim. He explained the conditions that Rav Chaim Vital set out for learning Kabbalah, and he Rav Chaim tells some very serious conditions there about what a person has to has to be able to do, what level he has to be holding on spiritually in order to be fitting to learn Kabbalah. Binyan limud Torah Kabbalah. She nachon u'mezuman l'chol bal nefesh l'kaimam v'af l'nashim kirachenu yuyan sham. And we should learn there. We could see that there he explains that even for people like us, meaning simple, regular, very normal people, we have the ability to learn Kabbalah, and it's okay for us, and it's even good for us to be learning Kabbalah, even if we have not purified our Yetzer Hara, and we haven't become tzaddikim yet. And although we are striving, we should continue. And Bez Hashem, we're going to continue. We'll continue this year. Later on, maybe I'll even bring the more Sfarim. I don't know if I don't have the Sefer at home. So in the base medrash, but I might be able to get it for some of the shiurim. He has some very powerful things on this topic. So Bez Hashem next year.